Hello everyone, this is Father Alex Salazar, IVE priest, missioning in Canada, and today is January 17th, 2024, and it is the Wednesday of the second week of Ordinary Time. We also celebrate the feast of Saint Anthony the Abbot, and it is, our reading comes from the Gospel of Mark, chapter 3, verse 1 to 6. Jesus entered the synagogue, and there was a man there who had a withered hand. They watched Jesus closely to see if he would cure him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. He said to the man with the withered hand, "Come up here before us." Then he said to the Pharisees, "Is it lawful to do good on the Sabbath rather than to do evil, to save life rather than to destroy it?" But they remained silent, looking around at him with anger and grieved at their hardness of heart. Jesus said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately took counsel with the Herodians against him to put him to death. The Gospel of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Today, as we mentioned, we celebrate the feast of Saint Anthony the Abbot, or also known as Saint Anthony of the Desert, a hermit who dedicated his life in prayer and fasting in the abandoned caves in the desert of Egypt. And there's a story that one night, as Saint Anthony was praying, a great multitude of demons came in and attempted to scare him, and then began to beat him, leaving him severely wounded. And this caused much suffering and pain to the saint, leaving him lying on the floor, nearly dead. And a couple days later, providentially, a friend came to check up on him to see how he was doing. He saw the condition that the saint was in, and immediately took him to a nearby village for treatment. And the saint recovered, and upon recovering, he begged his friend to take him back to the cave. And upon entering the cave, Saint Anthony calls out, and calling out to the demon in a certain way, he says, "Here is Anthony. I do not flee your beating, not pain, not torture. Nothing can separate me from the love of God." And then the demon, almost enraged, began to make a great racket, and the whole place began to shake, and parts of the walls began to crumble. And then the demons appeared in numerous forms of monsters and beasts, as a lion, bear, leopard, wolf, fox, snakes, and a large scorpion. And as the many animals began to approach the saint, in some way laughing them off, said, "If you had any power, only one of you would be enough to kill me, but the Lord has taken away your strength. So you wanted to frighten me with your numbers. The proof of your powerlessness is that you are reduced to taking the form of senseless animals. If you have any power against me, come on, attack me. But if you cannot do anything, why torment yourselves unnecessarily? My faith is in God, and Him is my defense against you." And then suddenly a bright light appeared, and the numerous demons vanished, and all the pain that the saint was suffering ceased. And so he realized that in some way God had come into his presence and come to his aid. And almost baffled, he questions God, saying, "Where were you, Lord? Why did you not stop the suffering earlier?" And God responds to the saint, saying, "Anthony, I was present at your side, but I waited observing your fight. And since you have resisted so bravely, I will make your name great throughout the world." Having heard this, the saint stood up and began to pray to God, and received great strength in his body, and much more vigor in his prayer and his dedication of fasting and prayer. And so in some way that gives us an example of confidence and trust, that in many cases the devil can't do anything against us, or The demons can't hurt us. But what they do like to do is they like to wither our confidence in God, our trust in God, almost as if He had more power over God Himself. And so we know by St. Anthony's example that our confidence is in God and God alone. And so He should always be our refuge. And so let us ask God, through the intercession of our Blessed Mother, and through the intercession of St. Anthony, that we may always have that great confidence in God, just as St. Anthony exemplifies for us, especially in those moments of great trial, that God is always at our side. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed hearing the Gospel and homily, I invite you to share it with someone you know who may also find it rewarding, and also to subscribe to the Catholic Voice channel. Please see in the description below if you would like to receive a text message for each daily Gospel and homily. Please also keep our missionary priests throughout the world in your prayers. Thank you, and God bless.